Hello, welcome back to Project ML. As promised, I've got in the car. I've got a couple of hours free this evening, and I'm going to do a few jobs on the car. So, back to the video that I did before this one. We'll do a quick update and a bit of a walk around. So here I have got it at the garage. As I mentioned, it's been stood since basically the last day of August, 1st of September, never been used. Yeah, I've turned it over a few times on the drive, but I haven't actually driven it. Well, at the top of the street and back once or twice, but that was it. So, as mentioned, on Saturday, I decided to tax it, put all the seats and that back into it, and as you've seen on the video, it fired into life, no problem. And like I mentioned, I had to take it for a drive, but ended off doing about 60, 70 miles in it. Absolutely problem-free. Even the wipers carried on working as they should. The brakes, as you can see, have cleaned up lovely. I'm going to get it on the lift and check, but I know that all the discs and pads are in good nick on it. I'll just check none of them are binding. Sorry I got stopped there. I was handing over some brakes to somebody. So yeah, they've tidied up, cleaned up, absolutely lovely. Them pads were brand new before I parked it up. There's absolutely no grinding, grating sounds, nothing what I would even say was of any concern. As you know, I'm a mechanic, I know what to look for, and I do normally say, if a car has stood for 6 months, especially over the winter, be careful when you first go out to drive it. So what do I do? Oh yeah, I just stick a tax on it, and away I go, 60, 70 mile, with the family in, 2 dogs, but hey ho, I've got breakdown cover. But to be quite honest, totally honest with you, I've got 100% trust in this old girl. I really, really do trust this old beast. And the fact that it's a petrol, that's now to go and wrong. If it had been a diesel, it would have probably struggled to start. As you've seen, bang, straight off the key, nothing to go wrong. Underneath, like I mentioned on the engine, these are correction by me. I need to just double check. These are actually a 3 valve per cylinder, so they're an 18 valve engine, but they have got what you call a dual spark system. So they've got 2 spark plugs per cylinder. So what it has actually got is 12 spark plugs, but they're platinums, and they were just done last year. Air filter was brand new last year, so we'll get into this in a second. So yeah, what I'm going to do today, I'll get onto it, but yeah, the car drove absolutely faultless. And really, I haven't driven this car in 6 months, and you know when you just miss something. The Jeep is lovely, torquey, great, chunky, retro-looking 4-wheel drive, and it's got character. But this, obviously not with the bonnet up, has got presence on the road. Really, this thing, I couldn't care less what you'll say about your new Range Rovers and stuff. These MLs really are a tough, rugged old car. You get the top end ones with the air suspension, and they're not really what I would class as what they're racked up to be. But this, straightforward, coil suspensions on the rear, coil springs and shockers. Front, you've got torsion bars. Nice and simple. Massive Brembo brakes on them. You know the size of them brakes on this thing, it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, these are little things that the Jeep lack. But unfortunately, what this car has, what the Jeep doesn't have, is the typical Mercedes rot. And there's nothing I can do about it. I've been through all this. If I poke on at them too much or grind them down, there'll not be too much left of them. But at the end of the day, underneath, chassis-wise, and again, the Jeep isn't a body-on chassis. The Jeep's like a monocoque. This is a full-on, if you go back to my videos and look when I fitted the tow bar, this is a full-on tank, this thing. This has got a proper body on chassis, but the chassis on this car is, again, amazing. When you're looking at the bodywork, you'd think, oh yeah, it's going to be absolutely rotten underneath, terrible. No, really it's not. It's only down to these panels. There's a scarb at the bottom of that door. And it's a shame. Yes, what I was thinking about doing was getting 4 doors and 2 wings. This is part of the quarter panels, and maybe get it repaired. The only reason that look stands out, by the way, what I've been doing over the winter is putting a thick layer of polish over them, so there's white on it. So, yeah, and you know, as you can see, the car, as I mentioned before me, was very, very well looked after mechanically. I went and bought this car almost brand new for over £20,000 with the lady back in 2007, 2006. She has brought it to us ever since it was brand new-ish, 4-year-old. So mechanically wise, this car is like none other. And this lady used to only do crazy low miles, like less than 1,000 miles a year. And we're quite regular used to say, look, because this thing takes 12 litres of oil, it's like, 10 I think, 10 or 12 litres. We used to say, look, you don't really need to get the oil changed this year. No, she goes, I want it done, keep it proper. So the oil that was coming out of this thing sometimes was good enough to go into another car. But this car serves one purpose. As you all know, I always have my second/project other cars what I use. This is only used for one reason, and it's to tow my caravan. That's it. My caravan's just 1,500 kilo. It's not a great big twin wheeler, dual axle thing, but the way I look at things is very, very simple. And there's a few people on the caravan clubs get all la-di-da about this, but I like to tow within limits, right? Now, what everybody says is I've got a Mondeo and it tows a 1,500 caravan and it pulls like a train, and I'm like, yeah, it will. But the Mondeo barely weighs 1,500 kilos, fully laden, maybe 2 ton. The thing is, never push to the limits. All these people saying, yeah, I've got a Kia Sportage and I tow a 1,500 kilo caravan. Yeah, what's the maximum weight your car can tow? Like 1,600 or 1,700 kilo. You really want to push things that far? Because again, that's how you end off upside down in a hedge, or a wagon overtakes you and you get the old snake and going on. Now what you want is something like this. This weighs almost 2.5 ton empty with nothing on it. So just standing there as this car does, not including the full tank of fuel, the roof box, any of my stuff that's in it, this weighs about 2.3 to 2.5, 2.5 ton on its own. So straight away off the bat, this car weighs, well, not far off double the caravan. I mean, double the caravan's 3 ton. It's not far off. It's only half a ton off 3 ton. So by the time I put my stuff in the roof box, that's the 2 kids, 2 dogs, 2 adults, all of our luggage, heavy luggage at that, roof box full tank of fuel, this car is well into 3 ton. So like I'm saying, there you go. 3 ton straight up is double what the caravan weighs. So that's why I use this purely for towing, for safety reasons. Because when you're towing with this and an articulated lorry overtakes you, or you overtake an articulated lorry in it, nothing moves. A bit of wind, nothing moves. Why? Because the car weighs double than what it's towing. When you're towing with a little Kia Sportage or a Ford Mondeo Estate, your caravan, remember, it'll be 1,500 kilo, but all your stuff you've got in it, it'll be creeping up and up and up to 1,700 or 1,800. So what you'll tend to find is your caravan ends off weighing the same as the car, and that is a position you never, ever, ever want to be in, where the trailer weighs more than the towing vehicle. Not a good situation. This thing is a tank. And even down to my tow bar, I fitted this myself, so I know it's done right. Brand spanking new tow bar, all new electrics, and I just know that's safe. I've got everything where it needs to be, and you just sail along. I mean, even though you can see it's just a runabout kind of car, I have everything protected. I'm very particular how I treat this car. Remember, I sold my almost brand new Mitsubishi L200 for this. Not many people would sell like a 20-odd thousand pound car with 6,000 mile and downgrade to this, but I did. And do you know what it is? I was happier for it. The car actually drives on a different level to a truck. Comfortable on a different level. Yes, the miles per gallon is not as good. Yes, it's got rust on it. Yes, I know. But the difference is this car literally owes me nothing. That car really owes me nothing. What I paid out for that car, it's pennies nowadays. So I'm happy to keep it. And it nearly holds one of my records. The only other car that holds a record is that one. Of cars I've owned the longest is that, but it's not on the road, the Astra, and this. That holds a record. I've owned it over a year. That's a record for me, trust us. It's ain't over a year, it's probably a lot more than a year. It's got to be. Yeah, it will be. It'll be more than a year I've owned it. So, enough of the waffle, on to what we're doing. So, see, we're drawing the oil out of it. Reason why I'm not doing the sump plug is, like I've mentioned, this car has been serviced to death. The oil is absolutely great. You could probably still use that to service an old car, believe it or not. And plus, the sump plug on it is a right nightmare, and what it does is it flies out, goes into the subframe, fills the subframe with oil, and then it'll drip all over me drive. This is a nightmare one to do. It's easy to get to, it's just the angle that it comes out it'll end up causing a mess on me driving home. So I've already getting it drained out. It's currently draining there now, but I need to pump it up a bit. And we're going to do the oil filter, engine cover off. Simply just get an oil filter wrench, turn it the right way, slacken that off, and try to do this with 2 seconds. I haven't got gloves on or nothing. There we go. Slacken that off. We'll have a little look at the oil filter, see what's going on in there, see if that's slack enough to do with my hands. Yes. Just let that drain a bit. Always slacken your oil filter off before you finish draining the oil, because you'll get a good half a litre of oil that goes down into the sump. I can hear it in there actually draining down. As you can see, that is lovely and clean. I'm just going to bring it up. Of course, I have to spill a little tiny bit. If you look at that, nice and clean, lovely. The only thing is, it does smell really petrol-y, because, like mentioned, the car has really, apart from obviously doing tone journeys, it's not had a long run in a while. Lovely and clean in there, nothing whatsoever to worry about. Finish off draining the oil. We'll get the new oil in. I've topped up the screen wash. I'm going to give the headlights a little bit of a clean. I'm also going to get the oil. I've decided I'm not taking off the wipers. Are working perfectly fine now. I'm not taking off this unit because I could end up cracking the windscreen, and I really don't want it off cracking the windscreen. So what I'm going to do is just drop some oil, just engine oil, down onto the spindles and let them soak in. What else I'm going to do, I'm going to get it up on the lift, and I'm going to get the track rod ends freed off, and it's going in for the 4-wheel alignment on Monday. Because when I'm driving it, really annoyingly, the wheel is like that, and it really does me head in, especially when you're towing on long journeys. So I'm going to get the 4-wheel alignment done on it. And as you've seen, the little bits of rot, all I do is, believe it or not, it looks tatty to start with. I just go over them with a little bit of hammerite. Simple as that. So, 8-year protection, silver hammerite, which I've used in the past on it. Yes, it's a total bodge job. Put my hands up and admit that one, but I've just explained there's no way of doing it. If you grind them back and paint them properly at a paint place, within next winter, they'll be rusting, they'll be scabbing. The only real way to deal with that is, there's 2 ways of doing it: cutting them out and putting new panels on, and obviously like changing the doors and that, or doing what I'm doing, just maintaining them and leaving them. And it goes to stand to reason they have getting stood for 6 months, but with no salt on them, they have getting no worse. So we shall just leave it be. So that's what we're doing now. I'll come back to you when I've got everything else done. I've got it on the lift. I'll show you what I'm going to free off on the track rod ends. I'll show you doing a bit of oiling on the wiper arms. So I'll be back shortly. Right, that's the new filter sorted. Always nice to, I'll just switch up. Always nice to see a nice new filter. Nice Bosch filter. With this, you've got to change the bottom seal, mid seal, and 2 top seals. Always make sure you change them. Don't just chuck the little bag away thinking that they don't need replaced, because they do. So there we go. There's the oil filter. We'll pop that into place. Down into there. We'll tighten it up. Just got to screw it on by hand to start with. And if you notice, what I've done is I've made a mark here and here, and all it does is just gives you an indication before you take it off of how tight it was. I mean, you don't use that as the exact figure, but you take it on, take it round until it meets up to that. So there we go. I've got it there. It's hard trying to do it with one hand, but if you look at the white line, we'll just match it up to where it was before. Give it a little push, and there we go. Nicely lined up to where it was. I've got all the proper torque wrench to use the proper torque settings, but I know I've done that many of these. I know what 25 Newton meters is. It's what I torqued it up to last time. Yes, it's a new seal, but I just put it onto there. It's just my way of doing it. It may not be exact, but it works. Naturally, this is my own car. On customers' cars, I use the torque wrench because naturally that's a paid job. So there we go. That's the new oil filter in. Just leave the dipstick out a little bit, like that. And there's my lovely new oil to go in. As mentioned, wasn't a great deal different to what was on it before. So, always nice to see. Nice new oil going in. And like I say, I'll come back to you when I've got it fully up to the mark, and we'll give it its first run and check for any leaks. So there we go, that's the oil topped up. This is really difficult, believe it or not, trying to get a dipstick out with one hand and show correctly without the oil running down. So as you can see there, it's just slightly, if it'll decide to zoom in, which it probably won't, will it on there? There, it's bang up to the mark of max there. But what you've got to remember is when you first start it up, the oil filter's got to fill. This big unit, what you've just seen there, all that's got to be filled. So naturally, when you come to stop it and recheck it, there will be a difference in the oil. So first things to check are the obvious. Check you've put the dipstick in. Check you've got the oil cap tight. And just do a quick check around the oil filter that you've got it tightened to the right spec. Nothing sticking out. You've remembered to replace the seals. If it's a metal screw-on filter, make sure the old seal hasn't stopped on the housing, and just do a general check around the engine bay. Naturally, I know I've got the cover off, but you haven't left nothing lying in the engine or nothing lying around what can get sucked into the fan or anything like that. Right, so we'll go around and start it. A couple of things I'll mention to you, what you need to watch for is on your dashboard. I don't even know where it is on this one. You know what it is? I don't even think this car has got a red. I remember looking at this once before I even owned the car. It has a low oil warning light, but not actually a low oil pressure light. There will be one there, but it'll just not be active. But all you need to do is when you first start them up, what you'll find is your little red oil light switch, pressure light might stay on a little bit longer. That's totally normal, as long as it doesn't stay on for more than 5 seconds. So there we go, we'll start it up. Listen for any funny noises. You might get the odd little rattle while the tensioner on the chains tension up with the new oil pressure. But you want to be looking around here for any kind of residue leaking out, which there isn't. Nothing around the oil cap, nothing on there. Then all you need to do, it's very simple, just leave it to run for a couple of minutes, stop it, leave it about 5 minutes, and then check the oil. That's all you need to do to these ones. So I'll come back to you when we've got it on the lift and I'm doing a bit of the painting and doing the track rods. Right, the final bit on the ML video. Bit of a problem, but a bit of a good news. We've got it on the lift, and there is a bit of play, which is, believe it or not, this was totally fine before I parted up. A bit of play developed on the track rod end on the left hand side. So this one here, there's a bit of play in the ball joint. So I'm going to get a new track rod end before getting the tracking done, otherwise it's a waste of time. So what we're doing is naturally, I'm going to just free that off at this side to change it, but I'll get into where I'm getting the part from and so on shortly. But this side is the side that's okay. So what you do is obviously, I'll try and get this light to shine where I want it to. This is your nut here, what you need to free off. These are always tight, so I've actually got that, as you can see, slackened off with a 21mm spanner. That's free. And then what then you need to be able to do is move the bar within. Obviously, you can see it going through the into the steering rack. Naturally, if I just tighten that up a little bit so it doesn't move. If you look, the shaft in the centre is moving. Just nip that a little bit more. There you see. Just the shaft in the centre is moving. And that's what you need to do to be able to adjust the tracking. You need to do that. So the threaded bar that goes into the track rod needs to be free. This big end needs to, the big nut needs to be free. And also, what was the problem with this? Where the rubber boot clamps onto the tie rod, it was seized. So I've took the clamp off, sprayed some grease in, put the clamp back on, and now what you'll find is if you ever take your car in to get the tracking done, just have a quick look underneath and check that this boot isn't all twisted. Because what happened is the rubber sticks to the rust. So what happens is when you're turning this shaft, as you can see it turning, it doesn't spin inside of the rubber, it twists the boot around. And a lot of lazy tyre fitting places which do your tracking won't bother freeing that off, and they'll just turn on at this to the point where the car's in the tracking, and this, I'll put that back to where it was, and this will be all twisted round, and then they'll tighten it up. It's a really lazy way of doing it, but this is how I say it. This is how I get the tracking done cheap, because I do all the work. I free this off, I free that off, I grease everything up. So when I take it in, all the guy's got to do is put a spanner on that, crack it off, turn this, get the tracking into line, nip that back up again, job done. So we've got the same to do at this side. Like I've said, as you can see, you've got to get some grease into the boot underneath of it and take the clamp off so that it spins, crack that off, and obviously get the shaft spinning. So there's not much I can really show because I've got everything out already to see if it's going to crack off. But obviously you get the spanner on. Where's the spanner? Obviously I find it difficult to try and record some of this stuff without all the proper like filming equipment, you know. So naturally these, I would imagine, let's have a look here. See if I can get it to crack off. No, see that one I'm going to need to use a bit of heat oxyacetylene. If you go too hard on them, they will end off, you'll either strip them off or cause damage to the steering rack. So, anyways, switch the camera around. Naturally I need a track rod end on this one, because when you come to the wheel, it's side to side. You might have seen people in garages doing this, rocking it side to side. That's free play, and you can see the play in this ball joint. I'll just see if I can replicate it, but I don't think I can. You need two people. No, you can't really see. I'll just see if I can put the camera up close to it. No, I can't really show that very well on the video. But what's happening is that ball joint there is popping up and down, and naturally that's a sign that it's worn. So, I've actually had a look around the place, and a Lemforder one, as you know, original equipment, or TRW, is going to be nearly £45 for one. Naturally, it's a big car, the heavy-duty items compared to like a Ford Fiesta. But I went on to Euro Parts' Omnipart, which is trade only, which when I went on, and it tells you like all company stock. Luckily, the right-hand one, the left and right, there's two Lemforder ones. I was going to change both, but the one on the other side is only a couple of years old. And I had a look, and there was actually a TRW one only listed for the left-hand side for £8 plus the VAT, so that's like a tenner. I thought, that can't be right. Only two in company stock. So I rang them up, I said, is that right? He's like, yeah, it's just old stock at that price. When they're gone, they're gone. So I've got that on order. It's not going to come till Tuesday, so I've had to cancel me alignment tracking appointment for this Monday to next Monday, the 21st. And obviously there's no point in us taking it in because I need to change the track rod. So get the track rod hopefully on Tuesday, get it fitted, and then next Monday, like a week on this Monday coming, I'll get the four-wheel alignment done. Then at least that way the tracking is done with new track rod ends. Happy days. Most certainly not going to be towing the caravan with that, which goes to show, always check your car, even if it's all these people I get coming in going, oh, the car doesn't need a check because I've hardly used it. Oh, the car doesn't need a service because I've only done a few miles in it. It just shows you this car has stood on the driveway for 6 months. I had this car on the lift just before I put it off the road because I did a bit of greasing and wax oiling underneath before it stood, and I swear to God I checked that track rod end 100% and there was no play in it. Now that's developed play through just sitting idle. Damp might have gotten in, whatever. Obviously I've drove it the 60-70 mile like I've mentioned on the weekend, didn't feel any different, but it just goes to show if that was to pop off, your wheel would come out like a trolley shopping trolley wheel, bang, you'd be in a crash, rip the whole wheel off, not good times. So £10 well spent, but I'm telling you now, that's 45 quid part I've getting for a tenner, so happy days. Nothing really else to report. I might just come back and show you when the track rod's here and when I'm fitting it, and I'll do that as a separate video, because obviously I've got to take the wheel off where it connects into the hub, and I'll do that in a separate video of changing the track rod. In fact, I'll show a general video of changing a track rod and freeing off the tie rods ready for the four-wheel alignment. So I'll catch you in another video. Thanks for watching. Please, if you enjoy this, hit the like button, consider hitting the subscribe, and if you do like it, if you got anything you want to ask, please leave a comment below. I'll catch you next time. Bye.